In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can use our knowledge of genetics to help treat diseases in human beings. So as a review, remember, many diseases are genetic. So they're only based on having bad copies of certain genes. And some examples are cystic fibrosis, sickle cell, Huntington's, and muscular dystrophy. All of these are pretty bad diseases, and they are 100% genetic. So how do we know all this stuff about human genetics? Well, it's because of this thing called the Human Genome Project. And this was a project that was started in 1990, and it finished up in 2003. And basically what it did was it determined the genetic code for a human being. And it helped identify all of our genes. So it created a map of all the A's, T's, C's, and G's that make up a human being and the arrangement of the genes in our DNA. And now the thing is, the Human Genome Project itself didn't actually try and solve any problems. So we weren't trying to create medicine and things like that. It was just, how do I figure out what the genetic code is and where the genes are? And this information is really important because once we figure out where the genes are, we can figure out what they do. And if we know which genes do which functions, we can start to identify the genes that are associated with certain genetic disorders and certain risk factors and things like that. And then we can actually start to create medicine and genetic fixes to solve these diseases. And one of the ways that we use this knowledge is what is called gene therapy. And gene therapy is a relatively new thing as far as being used in medicine. And what happens is we're able to actually fix the genes themselves that cause certain disorders. Cystic fibrosis is one that there's a lot of research going into as a way to actually cure cystic fibrosis. So this is basically how it works. Let's say we have a baby with cystic fibrosis. We're going to take some cells out of that baby. Cells for probably in the lungs or in the lining of the lungs that helps create the mucus, which is what builds up when you have cystic fibrosis. And so these have a bad copy of those genes. Then we're going to take a virus and we're going to alter it so it can't reproduce because we don't really want it to be reproducing. And that virus is going to have DNA, and in the virus's DNA we're going to insert a good copy of the gene that we want to fix. Then we're going to use that virus and the fact that it can infect things, and we're going to use it to infect the cells that we took out and actually insert that good gene into those cells. Then we can put those cells back into the kid, and those cells will start to make the correct protein. And if all goes to plan, then this can actually help cure this disease. Now, we're not exactly able to do this in a really effective way yet. Like, we're on a lot of trials for trying to figure out the best ways to do these. But gene therapy has the potential to be something that can literally cure people of a lot of these genetic diseases.